A game that can influence reality. In this game, I received game privileges alone. How can I lose when there are only 2 artifacts at the beginning? Serious introduction. Tang Yuan has 2 divine artifacts. One thing that allows him to have privileges in an extraordinary game called fantasy. One piece can greatly enhance his attributes, giving him strong combat power at the beginning. The invincible path has been completely paved. One day in the future, while practicing Zhu Gang, he suddenly looked back and realized. Originally, the strongest spiritual spells in the fantasy are all in the Zhu series. Keywords of the novel. Fantasy. I am about to become invincible with the dual divine tools at the beginning. No pop-ups, hallucinations. I am about to become invincible with my dual divine tools at the beginning. Download the complete set of TXT, Fantasy. I am about to be invincible with the dual divine tools at the beginning. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Monsters attack the world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Monsters attack the world. I just dreamt that our campus was attacked by a huge unicorn beast. Xinxia, Fishing Fire Town. In room 304 of Building B of Taolong University, LVCC opened slightly tired eyes and said to her good friend Yu Qian. The latter rolled his eyes at her. Just in this class, before the end. I remember looking at the time, it was 36 minutes. And then what? Yu Qian showed a slight interest. Then a group of very powerful people appeared, using various magical powers to fight against this giant beast. Some could use lightning, some could control flying swords, and some could transform into flame giants with 3 or 4 floors high. What happened? The giant beast died. They didn't defeat the giant beast, it destroyed the campus. Recalling her dream just now, LVCC blinked her eyes and gradually frowned. She felt that this dream was incredibly real, as if it was not a dream, but a future. Am I dead too? Yu Qianlu widened her pupils in disbelief. Well, you died early before my eyes. Watching LVCC frown and look lost in thought, Yu Qian widened her eyes and said, it's really fake. Your dream is too surreal. What a giant beast, what supernatural power. I've lived for 20 years, but I've never seen it before. I haven't seen it either. The morning sunlight shone through the glass on the English book in front of her, and the strong reflected light made her squint slightly. She glanced again at the time. 11:36, she rubbed one page of the textbook with her fingers, inexplicably feeling a little nervous in her heart. Turning her head to look at LVCC, she saw the latter lying down again and let out a soft sigh. It's all your fault for causing me trouble now. Bang! It's like this space was hit hard by a giant hammer, causing the entire campus and surrounding areas to suddenly shake in an instant. Invisible waves swept through this area, causing shock to all teachers, students, and the surrounding public. Damn it! What's going on? A man riding a bicycle on the sidewalk was blown down by the wind, fell and scraped his skin. I don't know. Is there an earthquake? The passers-by stopped and looked around. I felt a shockwave, as if it was coming from above. Look, look. What's in the sky? Someone keenly raised their head and looked up at the sky, as if they had seen something. He widened his eyes in surprise. Black mist. At this moment, on the sky about 100 meters high, a huge mysterious black mist appeared at some point, covering an area of over 100 meters, resembling clouds. Cloudy black mist. Through the glass window, LVCC looked up at black cloud and her face changed in shock. What a dream. Before the words fell, the black mist in the sky rapidly changed, and in just a blink of an eye, it condensed into a huge monster. That monster looks like a golden-haired lion, with a snow-white cone-shaped unicorn on its head and 2 dark red diamond-shaped crystals in its eyes. About 40 meters high. It lay heavily beside the commercial building outside the campus, and the falling shockwave shattered a large area of surrounding buildings. Boom boom. Although it is a reinforced and thickened 25-story commercial building, the outer glass is also completely shattered. The whole building is on the verge of collapse. Roar. The unicorn giant roared in the direction of the campus and immediately used its massive body to collide with the nearby commercial building. Bang! The roar of giant beasts and the deafening impact echoed for several kilometers, causing countless people from afar to look at this place in surprise. What sound is that over there? Someone rushed to a high place and was shocked to see a huge golden lion crashing into the building. Oh my goodness! The Taolong commercial building has collapsed. It has collapsed. Next to it is Taolong campus, and my daughter is still there. The tall building collapsed, and countless pieces of rubble fell from tens of meters high in the air, like a sudden rain, hitting pedestrians on the ground. Ah ah ah. Run quickly. The sudden collapse of the tall building caused panic and confusion among pedestrians below. A few people on the edge were still able to escape, but those at the center of the fall were unable to return to the sky. Watching the ruins fall in the sky, people's eyes were filled with darkness. In a critical moment. Suddenly, a beam of white light came from the east and rushed into the crowd like lightning. Subsequently, the white light transformed into the appearance of a young man, who grabbed one person with each hand and led them to a safe area not far away. After putting down the left and right individuals, he transformed into light and flew into the crowd, carrying one person in each hand and flying out again. In the eyes of others, only a beam of white light can be seen shuttling back and forth between the crowd and the safe zone outside at a speed that is difficult to see with the naked eye, successfully taking the two out each time. Wow! What is that? What a fast light! Don't worry. Hurry up and run further away. When the last person was safely built out, the beam of white light finally stopped by the rescued person's side, transforming once again into the appearance of that young man. Before everyone could take a closer look, he transformed into a dot of light and quickly flashed away. Everyone can't even determine which direction he's flying in. That light was actually changed by humans. Is it like a young man? Although I don't know who saved me, thank you, benefactor. The rescued person felt great kindness and knelt down devoutly towards the spot where the light had disappeared, bowing. At the same time, hundreds of meters away, in the Taolong campus, Tang Yuan, who had once again transformed into a human, stood by the small fountain at the entrance of the school and sighed helplessly as he looked at the corner of the teaching building that had been destroyed by the giant golden lion with its roaring cannon in the distance. Ah, who the hell is it? The rescue mission failed, causing the snow-horn golden lion to appear in this world. I use this spiritual spell so frequently, I'll soon get tired. He said so, but he still turned light and flew out again. The snow-horn golden lion is the name of that 40-meter giant beast. It's a 5th-level elite demon. And the move he is currently using is something called the Spirit Curse, which for their players is another form of skill. Divided by quality and power into subordinate, intermediate, superior, and super superior. One mind chasing light, LV1/superior. Chasing light and walking with it in one mind. After use, it can transform into light flight, with a maximum speed of, spiritual power plus 1000 meters per second. This is a rumored spiritual spell that can catch up with the light, and it is expected to catch up with the light upon reaching its full level. Ranked first among body spells and soul spells, extremely rare. If it weren't for Tang Yuan achieving his best performance in the test of becoming a player and lucky enough to draw it from a pile of higher-level spiritual spells, it would have been extremely difficult to obtain it. On May 20th, this is Tang Yuan's 3rd day traveling to this world and becoming a player. As usual, starting tomorrow, it's 11:30 a.m. every day, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Full-level Diamond True Power and Divine Weapon, Light of Truth. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 2 Full Level Diamond True Power and Divine Weapon, Light of Truth. Under the blue sky, a strong noon sun fell on the ruins surrounded by smoke and dust, and the air gradually became hot and dry. It has been 3 minutes since the appearance of the snow-capped golden lion. While Tang Yuan was rushing to save people, other players had already rushed from elsewhere to engage in a fierce battle with the snow-capped golden lion. Su bang! A figure swept through the air and landed heavily on the ruins near Tang Yuan. He has just rescued the last student from the ruins and is sitting on a pile of rubble to rest. Although excellent, its consumption is also high. If it weren't for his physique far exceeding that of an ordinary person, he would have been exhausted a long time ago. Tang Yuan turned his head to look. A burst of thunder and lightning suddenly appeared in the ruins, and large pieces of gravel were blasted away by fierce thunder. In the dust and smoke, a sturdy figure with 2 fists entwined with deep purple fierce thunder appeared. Seeing the person, Tang Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly and his face showed surprise. Thunder Fist Kingen. His voice was neither loud nor small, just to the extent that the other person could hear him. Wang suddenly turned his head and squinted under the stimulation of the sunlight. When he saw the young man on the pile of stones clearly, he looked puzzled and said, "Are you?" "Forget it. Since you know my name, you must also be a player. Let's help together." As he spoke, he clenched his fists and pounded hard on his chest. With a loud bang, a large amount of electric current surged throughout his body, and he whispered, "Thunder strikes." Before he could finish speaking, he stepped on the ground with his right foot and jumped towards the snow-horned golden lion. Bang! The opponent's swift and violent claw flew Wang far away. Ah! Tang Yuan let out a silent sob and then let out a heavy sigh. Sure enough, I still want to take action. I originally wanted to keep a low profile. He picked up a stone the size of a duck egg from the debris around him and weighed it in his hand. The quality is similar. If you attach the diamond true force, the power should be decent. As he spoke, he swung his right arm straight back. Another spiritual spell, Diamond True Power, is activated, and a rich golden light flows into the right hand like a stream of water, wrapping the stone in the palm of the right hand and making it shine with gold. Diamond True Power, LV5/Intermediate. The strong power of diamond is called Diamond True Power. It can be attached to the fists and feet, making it as hard as diamond and impervious to weapons and knives. The specific power and physique are related. And as the spirit curse is upgraded, the following effects can gradually be obtained. Level 2. Can attach stiffness to the entire body. Level 3. Can wrap the stiffness around the object in contact. Level 4. Able to use stiffness for air separation strikes. Level 5. Can use force to wrap around objects for long-range shooting. This is the only other spiritual curse he currently has. After only 2 days of obtaining it, he relied on his superb understanding of this spiritual curse and practiced it to the full level himself. Now, it's his first time using it in front of outsiders. Come to my senses. After aiming at the snow-horned golden lion, Tang Yuan twisted his waist and swung his arm, exerting heavy force on his wrist to throw the golden stone out. In an instant. This golden stone is like a dazzling beam of golden light that easily hits the snow-capped golden lion. With a loud bang, it explodes into a large hole several meters wide and pierces out from the other side, hitting the ground directly. Boom boom. Large pieces of gravel and bricks fly horizontally, with smoke and dust rolling in. Not far away, a middle-aged man standing on a suspended giant sword frowning and pondering strategies for the enemy saw this scene. He widened his eyes and instinctively exclaimed, "Wrap around an object and launch a long-range attack." Level 5 Diamond True Power. He quickly turned his head and followed the direction of the golden light to examine the source of the attack. He saw the tall, black-haired young man standing on the gravel pile, The young man has a handsome appearance, appearing to be only around 20 years old. Why haven't you heard of such a young powerhouse who can knock down 5th-level elite monsters with just one strike? Before he could finish speaking, the figure of the young man disappeared in the blink of an eye. The middle-aged man quickly scanned the area, but there were only him and his 2 old friends left. After a moment of confusion, he shook his head and let out a heavy sigh. Alas, no matter what, fortunately we have him. Otherwise, the 3 of us wouldn't really be opponents of that lion. Words fall. He put away his giant sword at his feet and hurried towards his old friend who was still lying on the ground. Yuhua Town is located in the southeast of Xinxia and is a coastal town. The town is famous nationwide for its famous tourist attraction, the banks of the Taolong River. There are many residents in the scenic area, and Tang Yuan is one of them. At noon. After returning from Taolong University, he rushed straight home and returned to his own room. The room is not big, only 20 square meters, with 1 bed, 1 table, 2 cabinets, and 1 air conditioner. The bed is by the window, and every morning the sun rises, shining on the blanket, giving him a warm morning. Opening the window and peeking out, you can easily see the Taolong River running from north to south, most of the Taolong scenic area, and the bustling Taolong commercial center. This is the first time in 20 years that a dream rescue mission has failed. As a gentle female voice echoed through the room, the silver sapphire bracelet worn on Tang Yuan's left hand flew out and transformed into a 2-meter-tall woman. This woman is wearing a snow-white and hazy gauze skirt, with silver hair naturally flowing down her waist. Pure blue eyes are like magnificent aquamarine, pure and pure. The snow-white and flawless skin is shiny and translucent, as if it is not an ordinary person. She walked slowly to the bedside, propped her hands on the edge of the bed and sat down slowly. Looking up at Tang Yuan, she said again, after the rescue mission failed, fantasy immediately lifted the players' restrictions in this world. Now, all players can use spirit spells in this world and unleash their extraordinary power. Next, Sai. The woman sitting in front of Tang Yuan named herself Tang Zhen and once said she wanted to be Tang Yuan's sister. She is not a human, but a divine artifact that transforms into a spirit, and her essence is the divine artifact, Light of Truth. Light of Truth, divine artifact. Unique. Enhance the holder's physical fitness by 1000, making them immune to illusions and mental control. Can distinguish between truth and falsehood in things and speech, and thus obtain the truth. Tang Yuan smiled at her pessimistic expression and said, anyway, the player community will eventually be exposed to the world. Now that the overall environment is comfortable and stable, it would be a good opportunity. After all, what should appear will always appear. During the conversation, Tang Yuan and Tang Zhen looked at each other. Between glances, the former recalls brief information about hallucinations. 20 years ago, the dark source descended from beyond. On the day of its arrival, endless black clouds covered the planet, and those who did not know the truth called it Dark Day. On that night, the infinite power of the illusion quietly appeared on this planet. It selects people to become players, allowing them to grow in a game-like form. And send them to people's magical dreams or other occasions to fight against monsters. The purpose is to kill monsters and cut off their possibility of coming to this world, maybe. Tang Zhen responded lightly, and after the transformed high-heeled sandals turned into golden dots and dissipated, he turned over and lay on his side on the bed, with his beautiful back facing him. When you reach the 2nd level later, which level are you going to choose? Her voice drifted softly. Players are divided into levels of 1 to 10 according to their rank. And when they reach the 2nd level, they will be able to choose one of the 3 major mental classes given by the illusion to practice, which corresponds to 3 different directions in sequence. Do Gang Zhu Sha Fa. It includes various methods to enhance the killing power of spirit spells. Thunder Kill can enhance the power of Thunder-type spirit mantra, while Fire Kill can enhance the Fire-type adhering to the principle of self-protection. Zhu Gang Zhu assists. Although Tang Yuan currently only has one level, he has already met the conditions to ascend to the second level. I have already made a decision about this. Tang Yuan chuckled lightly and said, I want to choose Zhu Gang and become a Zhu-style player, so that I can learn the Zhu-style spirit mantra. Why choose this? There's no reason, it's just because I like it. The first 20 chapters have a lot of groundwork, but the pace accelerates after 20 chapters. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Has a 7th level physique panel in the first level. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 3 has a 7th level physique panel in the first level. I like it. The simple reason exceeded Tang Zhen's expectations. She stared at Tang Yuan for a moment, then smiled and said, For you, this is indeed the most suitable choice. Personally, I also recommend you to choose this. And why? Tang Yuan was curious. As is well known, Zhu Gang's emphasis is on assisting others, but since he can assist others, he can also assist himself. This is the most comprehensive and, in my opinion, the strongest heart program. Burst, weaken, heal, shield, resurrect. All of them can only be learned by players of the Zhu series. I am very happy that you have chosen Zhu Gang. After speaking, she smiled sweetly, her eyes shining like sparkling sapphires, like pure and beautiful archangels. After a moment, she turned around and asked, When do you plan to be promoted? Let's do it tonight. Tang Yuan cast his gaze outside the window, gazing at the city of day under the scorching sun. He frowned and pondered. According to the owner of the hot spring hotel on the mountain, it seems that some people have come to Taoshan and are always sneaking around nearby. The landlady is kind to me, I want to go help her take a look. 3 days ago, after he fell into the Peach Mountain, it was the kind-hearted innkeeper who gave him his first meal in this world, provided him with a safe place to live, and even gave him some currency from this world. Tang Yuan, who always repays kindness, will not forget this. Don't tell me. Tang Zhen sat up, propping his hands on the edge of the bed, swaying his snow-white and beautiful feet. He smiled lightly and said, Although I turned into a bracelet in your hand, I know what happened outside. Even though I can communicate with you with my heart, most of the time it's not necessary. I see, then let's go. With a flash of snow-white divine light, Tang Zhen in front of him disappeared, but was replaced by the silver sapphire bracelet that was re-worn on his left wrist. Upon seeing this, Tang Yuan nodded and lightly leaped into the air, transforming into a speck of light that flew out of the window. The next moment, a white light flashed over the banks of the Taolong River. On the Peach Mountain. In front of the antique hot spring hotel, the white light flew here and turned into the figure of Tang Yuan. In front of the hotel gate is a small garden with birds singing and flowers fragrant. At noon, there is no sign of anyone here. Standing here, he didn't rush in, but whispered, Fantasy, open my personal panel. The words have just finished. A light blue semi-transparent interface that only he could see quietly appeared in the void in front of him. Name. Tang Yuan equal order. 100/100, upgraded, physical fitness. 5 + 1000 spiritual power. 5 spirit will 1, 2 out of 6. Diamond true power, LV5/intermediate, 1 mind chasing light, LV1/superior. Physical fitness and spiritual power are the only 2 attributes that players have. Physical fitness determines all physical factors such as physical strength, speed, endurance, and recovery, while spiritual power determines the power of players using spiritual spells. First-level players' physical fitness is generally only in single digits. To achieve a physical fitness of over 1,000, at least players need to reach 7th level to have a chance. And this also requires a major in physical fitness. Tang Yuan looked at his exaggerated physical attributes and shook his head, exclaiming, I can now possess such attributes. The bonus of the artifact is really exaggerated. That's nature. The bracelet on his wrist flickered with a faint light, and Tang Yuan responded in his mind, you can match the 7th level with a first level one. When you climb a few more levels, just relying on the physical health bonus I give you can also surpass the strong physical fitness in the world. There is a hint of complacency in the tone. Tang Yuan shook his head and smiled, his gaze scanning the column of Spirit Wheel 1. After becoming a player, you will activate the Spirit Wheel, which is used to assemble spirit spells. Each spirit wheel can be equipped with 6 spirit spells. It is impossible to obtain a new spiritual wheel in the short term, and there are only 4 positions left in this spiritual wheel. The next 4 spiritual spells need to be carefully considered. Gently exhale, he closes the panel. Looking up, he glanced at the sandalwood plaque on the door that read, The First Hot Spring Hotel in Taoshan. He chuckled lightly and said, Isn't this just a hot spring hotel? As he spoke, he walked up the peachwood steps. In no time, the tea room was illuminated by the afternoon sunshine. Hello, my name is Su Mianmian and I am the front desk of this hotel. Tang Yuan lay on the long sofa, watching the woman walking out in a light red maple leaf bathrobe and introducing herself on her own, her eyes slightly surprised. I've seen you before, but you were dressed more formally at that time, he sat up and said. Su Mian hesitated for a moment, and Shui Lingling's big eyes stared at Tang Yuan carefully. Then he said, The boss lady has something to do and has left. She asked me to tell you that the group of people nearby have already left, so you don't need to come here again. As she finished speaking, she looked down at her body and explained, the hotel only provides 1 night's accommodation for tourists. They have to leave during the day and no one will come in the afternoon, so that's why I take a shower at this time. She said you would come, but she didn't expect it to be so soon. She instinctively wrapped her bathrobe tightly. Seeing this, Tang Yuan chuckled lightly. Just as she was about to get up and say goodbye, Tang Yuan's voice suddenly rang out in her mind. She lied. The landlady didn't leave, she was soaking in the small bathtub in the upstairs room. It looks like you've soaked comfortably and are too lazy to move. All lies cannot escape Tang Yuan's eyes. Tang Yuan was stunned for a moment, shook his head and chuckled lightly, okay, since it's okay, then I'll go back. He stood up and bid farewell to Su Mian, brushing his phone at Fong Zheng. At this moment, he replied casually without looking up, okay, be careful all the way. Walk to the entrance of the hotel. As he was about to walk down the stone steps, a soft and continuous cry came from behind. Wait. Looking back. I saw Su Mian covering her chest with one hand and taking a small step towards her pink phone with the other. After stopping in front of him, she excitedly turned her phone screen towards him and said, Look, is this person on top of you? Tang Yuan shifted his gaze and saw a replay of a live broadcast room on the screen, which was playing the scene of him shooting and killing the snow-capped golden lion just now. There are countless barrage scrolls among them. What is this? Is it a new movie? Wow! Picking up a stone can kill such a big one, that young man must be very skilled. The special effects on the scene were all done well, looking forward to it. Looking at the environment, it's Taolong University, my alma mater. I really miss it. Su Mianmian pointed at the young man in the middle of the screen and asked, Is this person in the middle you? Her eyes were hot and urgent, as if she had seen a mortal of immortality. Yes. Tang Yuan had no intention of concealing. That person is me. Wow. It's really you, are you Superman? The beautiful woman in front of him, still dressed in a fiery red maple leaf bathrobe, stared at him excitedly, her clear and watery eyes filled with curiosity. No, just an ordinary player. Tang Yuan thought to himself that the group of players would definitely be exposed in the next few days, with no hidden meaning. People like me should have hundreds of thousands around the world. What? So much. Why didn't there be any news before? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Goodbye, Boss Mother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Goodbye, Boss Mother, because there were restrictions before. Tang Yuan looked in the direction of Taolong University and shook his head, saying with a smile, but now, because monsters have appeared in this world, this restriction for all players has been lifted. If I'm not mistaken. He turned his head and looked straight at the woman in front of him, then said, within today, rumors about players should be circulating around the world. Oh my goodness. Sumi and Mian's delicate and flawless beautiful face showed a strong sense of surprise. She stared at the azure sky for a moment before finally regaining consciousness and chasing Tang Yuan, asking, that. How can I become a player like you? Staring closely at him, his watery eyes were filled with anticipation. Dreaming. Ah. What? Su Mian hesitated for a moment. That's right, it's just a dream. This sound was not made by Tang Yuan, but came from above. The two of them looked up in the direction of the sound, and saw a woman in a pink peach blossom long dress sitting on the edge of a window on the second floor with arched legs, looking at them. The woman has a graceful figure, and on her tender and fragrant white shoulders, her snowy peach cheeks are truly gorgeous. When Tang Yuan looked over, he was greeted by the other person's slightly scrutinizing gaze. Boss's wife. Are you also a player? Tang Yuan was slightly surprised. You killed the snow-horn golden lion with one strike. The other person answered in a different way. If you ask that, then you should see it. Do Gang. Wishing you all the best. The other party raised their eyebrows and eyes, as if surprised by this answer. She looked up and down at Tang Yuan, half surprised and half skeptical, and said, Are you practicing Zhu Gang? So strong. Why was it silent before? You just haven't heard of it. Do me a favor. The landlady lightly leaped, barefoot stepping on the peach blossom petals that appeared in the void, and slowly walked down from the air step by step. Before anyone arrives, the nose is filled with the fragrance of peach blossoms. This fragrance. The brain felt dizzy for no reason, and Tang Yuan frowned. He instinctively took a step back, and his body suddenly transformed into dots of light that flew out, stopping more than 10 meters away and transforming back into a human form. Who? He quickly took a breath and shook his head to regain consciousness. Looking up at the landlady who had just stood still, he had not spoken yet, but the other party smiled brightly and said, I thought all of you who practice Zhu Gang would be more lax in dealing with people. I didn't expect you to be so vigilant. But being able to have such strength at your age and possessing the first body magic spirit curse, one mind chasing light, your background must not be simple, right? She stepped barefoot on the huge floating peach blossoms, her pink skirt fluttering in the wind, and her slender legs faintly visible. It's average. Tang Yuan crossed his arms and asked in reverse, You said you wanted me to help, do you want me to accompany you in a fight? Of course not. The landlady rejected without hesitation, I'm not stupid enough to fight on my own turf. I wanted your help, but I wanted you to help me save someone. Save someone? Who? He asked curiously. My sister. Her mind is bound and she has been lying in bed without waking up. This is it. I have found the spiritual spell, De Shenjing, that can awaken her, but De Shenjing is only available for players who practice Zhu Gang. If you agree to rescue, I will give it to you. Sending a spirit curse. Tang Yuan was a bit surprised, but he didn't expect that the other party's so-called request for his help would actually be a benefit to him. Ling mantra can also be divided into 3 categories. Do, Shou, and Zhu. Most of them are universal spiritual spells, which can be learned by players of the 3 levels, and only a few spiritual spells have learning limitations. One of them is what the boss said, De Shenjing. Let me consider it. Are you worried about the soul curse position? Yes. The position of the spiritual wheel is limited. If one wastes a place to place other extraordinary abilities forever in order to save someone else, it would be difficult for anyone to choose. The landlady seemed to have anticipated, her expression remained unchanged, and she continued, "What if I can help you solve this problem? Then I'll help." The Shenjing is an extremely rare existence in higher-level spiritual spells, which can purify oneself and relieve all abnormalities. How can we do without fighting for such a useful spiritual spell? Okay, could you please come back tomorrow? I'll explain it in detail to you then. Sure. After returning, Tang Yuan locked himself in the room and leaned against the window, blowing the wind, slowly relaxing his body. Fortunately, I am a player, otherwise I really wouldn't be able to help. The scorching sun shines brightly, and the earth feels baked. Under the cool window eaves, the gentle breeze brushes against the face, bringing bursts of coolness. Tang Yuan transformed into a human figure at some point and brought a chair to sit next to him. The blue eyes glanced at him and suddenly said, "You only showed your strength at Taoda this morning, and now everyone around the world knows about you. At this level of high profile, do you have any plans next?" "Planned? That must be to enhance my strength." Tang Yuan spread out his hands helplessly and said, "If it weren't for the appearance of monsters in this world, I could have found a job and started working as I pleased. But now, players can use their power in this world, and they have seen me take action. The most important thing now is to quickly improve my strength, so that their impression of my strength stays in the past." Upon hearing this, Tang Yuan nodded in agreement. "Is there a strength enhancement plan?" "Not yet, let's settle the boss's matter first. To be honest, you can't save her sister in a short period of time. Because your spiritual power is too low, many spiritual spells cannot be used." "I know." Tang Yuan turned around and smiled casually, "So next, my main focus is on improving my spiritual power." As soon as the words fell, the doorbell rang. Ding dong ding dong ding dong. 3 consecutive doorbells made Tang Yuan's mouth twitch. That silly guy is here again. He poked his head out of the window and looked towards the door. Sure enough, he saw a handsome young man with red hair standing at the entrance of the first floor, waving at him with a smile on his face and saying, "Tang Yuan. I'm coming. What are you doing here?" He didn't go down, but leaned against the window sill and shouted at him. "You must be bored in such a big family alone. Let's go, I'll take you to Taoda to play." Meng Lei waved his hand and shouted. "I won't go." "TSK, then I'll come in." In a moment, the second-floor lobby. As soon as the two met, Meng Lei excitedly patted Tang Yuan's arm and exclaimed, "Hee, Tang Datsai, are you going to be born? You're starting to participate in our external competition." "No." "So you still made such a high-profile move, instantly killing such a huge snow-horn golden lion with just one strike. Who in the world doesn't know about you now? Everyone is inquiring about your news." Meng Lei spoke excitedly, as if he was famous himself. "And I'm not a genius, I'm just a little stronger in terms of physical fitness," Tang Yuan corrected. He met Meng Lei during a dream mission 2 days ago, during which he only showed exaggerated physical strength, and the latter kept chasing him and shouting, "Genius." I've been coming to see him frequently these past few days. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Dream Mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Dream Mission. "I'll go, are you just calling a little?" Meng Lei rolled his eyes and said, "Is it true that you instantly killed the snow-horn golden lion in public? How old are you? At this age, you can always be considered outstanding, right?" "Although this is true. Tang Yuan frowned and sighed helplessly after a few breaths. He was able to achieve that level of proficiency at the first level, all thanks to divine tools. But he cannot reveal this. I'm still a smart hero. I got to know you in advance, this future superstar." "Oh no, you are now." Meng Lei sat down with a smile on his face, picked up the teapot on the table and poured himself a cup of tea. He looked up and drank happily into his mouth. Act quickly and efficiently. Those are from yesterday, Tang Yuan said with an unchanged expression. The other person's face changed, but it seemed like something suddenly came to their mind and they gulped down everything. Hee, it's okay. Meng Lei waved his hand and crossed his waist to smile. I have a health preservation technique. Even expired and spoiled food, let alone overnight tea, is not painful or itchy for me to eat. Hee, your spiritual curse must have been given to you by someone else. That's not it, I gave it to Qin Mei. Seeing his proud expression, Tang Yuan shook his head in silence. Thinking of the direction he came from, he became curious and said, Did you pass by Taolong University when you came? How was it going there? Taoda, I did pass by. There are so many people there now, it takes 2 minutes to drive a 100-meter long road. Speaking of this, Meng Lei quickly regained his energy. Oh, by the way. As I passed by, I heard passers-by discussing information about our players, he said enthusiastically with his eyes shining brightly. Someone should have released this information, and now they all know how to become players. As Tang Yuan said before. The way to become a player is indeed a dream. Fantasy will randomly select people who are dreaming and test them. If they successfully pass the test, they can become players. The test is very simple. The person in the dream needs to walk a 10-meter long road and then step onto the dream altar. The dream altar has a total of 99 floors, and as long as you step on the first floor of the altar, you will pass the test. The more layers one steps on, the higher the test score, and the better the initial spiritual spell reward given to the player. The only difficulty of this test is dreamers need to be able to control their bodies. Most dreamers are just bystanders, making it difficult for them to act according to their own thoughts. In fact, the vast majority of people only realize they are dreaming when they wake up. Therefore, the difficulty is indeed very high. Of course, there are also a few lucky ones who have been selected and tested multiple times, and are lucky enough to succeed once, and come and go freely in their dreams from then on. So, in the future, there will be many new players. Tang Yuan nodded slightly. Yeah, in order to become a player, they will definitely dream frequently. There are many more dreams in the world every day. Meng Lei spread out his hand and shook his head. Upon hearing this, Tang Yuan raised his eyebrows suddenly and thought to himself, if there are more dreams, the frequency of magical dreams will increase. Dream missions will also be more. Magic dreams refer to the dreams of monsters appearing. Every time a magical dream appears, it will spawn a dream task and send players to fight in the dream. Does it mean that our players will upgrade faster? Yes. Meng Lei clapped his hands joyfully, with a strong excitement on his face. Then I must be able to ascend to the 5th level soon and activate the 2nd spiritual wheel. As he spoke, he urgently opened the player's task interface, but it was empty. Although it's not available now, it doesn't mean it won't be available later. As soon as they finished speaking, a crisp beep sounded in their ears. Immediately after, the same message appeared in front of both of them. Tip. New dream tasks have appeared. Schwa. Schwa. Two gazes simultaneously turned to the task interface, only to see that there were already 4 additional lines of information on it. Task. Taolong Campus, Class 1, Difficulty. Low, Number of people. 0/5, Everyone's dream messages are independent. Only the task interface is publicly visible to all players. Therefore, the task interface opened by Meng Lei can also be seen by Tang Yuan. Looking at the information above, Meng Lei sighed heavily and said, Alas, I knew that high-level tasks are not easy to come by. However, although the 4th level hero cannot receive any rewards for completing this 1st level task, I will still do my best to eradicate monsters and cut off their passage to this world. With these words, he turned his head to look at Tang Yuan and invited, come on, let's go in together. Dreams encourage challenges. Players can only receive task rewards by completing tasks of the same level or higher than their own level. There aren't many people like you who still want to go even though they know the task reward won't be with you. Tang Yuan chuckled lightly and also opened his task interface and clicked in. Have you entered the first level task, Taolong campus? Yes. Of course. Their voices echoed one after another, and their figures disappeared in place. The name of the scene in the dream that the dreamer considers is the name of the dream task. I knew that Taolong University would be called the Taolong campus, which is only the parents of the students. Generally speaking, people take 2 characters from the full name of a university as its abbreviation. Therefore, whether it is the teachers and students of the school or nearby residents, Taolong University will be simply called Taoda. Only some parents of students with limited knowledge will refer to this as the Peach Dragon campus. At this moment, Tang Yuan stood in front of the entrance of Taolong University, looking at the middle-aged man with lifeless eyes not far away, and chuckled lightly. This is the dream of this middle-aged man. The sky is blue, and the sun rises high in the east. It looks like it's in the morning. Looking ahead, the campus, which used to be so large, now only has a 5-story ancient tall building inside. Beside the tall building, there are waves of yellow mist, which is strange and unusual. Meng Leifei, who came in with him, quickly glanced around and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw no other abnormalities. It's okay, this is a relatively normal dream. Last time I was doing a mission, the dreamer actually dreamed of a volcano. Can you imagine that at that time, a group of us were fighting fiercely with monsters by the lava pool of the volcano, almost falling off. Tang Yuan turned his head to look at Meng Lei and saw him relaxing along his chest. He smiled and said, "It seems like that time really scared you." "That's not right." Meng Lei responded and glanced at Tang Yuan's smile. Suddenly, he stepped forward and said, "Hey, I've noticed that you really like to laugh." Indeed, men who love to laugh are quite handsome. No, it's not that I love to laugh, it's just a bit casual and optimistic. What a carefree spirit. He gave a thumbs up. The two of them didn't say much, but walked towards the only building on campus together. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Entering Dreams. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Entering Dreams. Each dream mission will have a limited number of players allowed in. And the task reward for the dream is only 1. Therefore, there is more competition among the players who enter the field. Bang! When Tang Yuan and his companions approached the building, they heard a heavy collision sound coming from the second floor. It seems that someone has arrived before us. Meng Lei frowned and said urgently. It's not urgent. Before they could finish speaking, there was another intense collision sound, and soon the two of them saw a huge animal-like black shadow breaking through the wall and falling out from the second floor. The black beast fell heavily to the ground with a loud bang, allowing the falling bricks and soil to cover its body. No movement, no life or death. Upon closer inspection, the black beast was a first-order demon ferocious bull. Although it had a body size similar to that of an adult wild bull, its skin was hard and incredibly powerful, and a single charge could easily break through walls. The level of the dream task is determined by the highest level of the monsters that appear in the dream. The ferocious cow is on the brink of death, hurry up. You can kill it with just one more strike. Meng Lei looked at it and quickly urged Tang Yuan to take action. The latter did not take any action, but instead cast their gaze towards the second floor. At this moment, a middle-aged strong man with his fists wrapped around lightning was standing by the broken wall, frowning tightly as he looked at them. His gaze focused on Meng Lei beside him. Is it him again? Tang Yuan was slightly surprised, but he expected that he was also on the bank of the Peach Dragon River at the moment, so it was not surprising that he could enter this mission. When the dream mission appeared, Fantasy would prioritize distributing it to nearby players. Meng family kid, you're here too. The strong man leaped vigorously, his legs springing up like springs, and then landed heavily in the air a few seconds later. Bang! The surging dust lifted up half a meter high. Lei Quan Wangan. Meng Lei seemed to have remembered something and poked Tang Yuan with his elbow, whispering in his ear, 5 years ahead, this is also a famous figure. At the age of 22, I dreamt of becoming a player and was born with a spiritual factor of 55. In just 4 years, I rose to the 5th level and gained a great reputation. At the age of 27, he challenged young and powerful men with a pair of thunder fists. In the end, he won 8 out of 9 battles and was defeated by a woman. However, although he lost, his reputation became even more prominent than before. Tang Yuan glanced at him and saw Wang Anmeng staring at him, wondering, why is he staring at you like this? Have you had a holiday? Ah. Do you have it? I'm not sure. Meng Lei scratched the back of his head and blinked blankly. Wang An glanced at the powerless monster lying on the ground, slowly crossed his arms, and said in a deep voice, the appearance of a monster at Taolong University today is not an accident, but a man-made event. It is said that during a rescue mission, someone intentionally killed other players with the aim of making the mission fail and bringing monsters to life. The Xinxia Bailong team has intervened in the investigation. The results should be available in the next 2 days. Tang Yuan and Meng Lei looked at each other, unsure why they suddenly mentioned this. At that time, there were a total of 10 people involved in the rescue, including 2 members of the Meng family. Wang An put down his hands and the fierce thunder in his hand flickered again. I think there's no need to investigate anymore. Obviously, it must be your Meng family who want the demon to come to life. Why? Tang Yuan was puzzled. Because Meng Lantian, the blazing wind martial god of the Meng family, had mentioned 2 weeks ago that they would invite the breaking army martial god of the martial god temple to have a lively fight on the Yalang Tiantai mountain in winter and autumn. Upon hearing this, Tang Yuan's face suddenly appeared. In the past 2 days, he has been using the Dream Forum to learn about the global player situation and the topics that some popular players are discussing. The news of the battle between the 2 martial gods was 2 weeks ago, and there has been little discussion since then. It is only natural for him not to be clear. Based solely on these, it's impossible to say who did it. Meng Lei retorted with a serious tone. Wang An snorted heavily and shifted his gaze to Tang Yuan. Speaking of which, I was just about to ask. He wiped away the thunder and lightning from his fists, replaced it with a calm and puzzled expression, and said seriously, who are you? Although I am not a Bai Xiaotong, I also make friends with people from all over the world. I browse the Dream Forum every day. You should not have had any reputation before, as you have such strength at this age. Before Tang Yuan could speak, Meng Lei said to him first, he is my good friend, a wandering player hidden on the banks of the Peach Dragon River. Tang Yuan is a great genius. Tang Yuan. What a strange name. Wang An rubbed his chin and pondered for a moment before finally showing a friendly smile. He reached out and said, my name is Wang An. If you have any spiritual tools or treasures you want in the future, you can come to me. I know a large group of unscrupulous merchants. Although they have been a bit treacherous, I have to say that the things in their hands are really good. It's also good. Tang Yuan nodded and exchanged contact information with the other party. Afterwards, he turned his gaze to the fierce and dying cow not far away. Each dream task has only one goal, kill the monsters with magic cores in the dream world. The only demon in this dream is a fierce cow, so it must be a mission demon. As long as you kill it, the killer will receive the reward for this mission. Tang Yuan turned his head and glanced at the entrance of the school. He saw 2 men rushing towards the fierce cow at lightning speed. He no longer rubbed around and clenched his fist with one hand, condensing his diamond true power like a golden flame in the heart of his fist. The next moment, he punched and hit the fierce cow several meters away from the air. Boom! As if a bomb had exploded, the face facing Tang Yuan suddenly burst into a golden flame, completely killing this weak demon. The huge cow suddenly collapsed into countless black spots, dissipating in place. You killed the first level monster, Fierce Bull, Dream Coin +1, killing monsters in Dream will reward Dream Coins, which can be used to purchase goods in the Dream Store. Tip. Task completed, about to leave the dream, You're late. It's almost there. Upon seeing the monster being killed, the two players who arrived immediately stopped running and sighed. 5, 4, ... In the final 5 seconds of countdown time, Wan Ana looked at Tang Yuan with admiration in his eyes and said, Vajra's true power strikes through the air. This is something that this spiritual spell can only achieve and it reaches level 4. As expected, they guessed it correctly. Your flash kill of the Snow Horn Golden Lion was really just wrapped in an ordinary stone with King Kong's true power. Level 5 diamond true power, terrifying like this. Tang Yuan smiled. Before he could say anything, the scene suddenly changed in front of him. In the blink of an eye, he had already returned to the present world, as if everything he had just experienced was just a dream and a bubble. I'm going back. As soon as he returned, Meng Lei immediately said goodbye to him. It turns out that today's peach blossom incident is still related to our family members. I need to hurry back and take a look, come back when I have time. Tang Yuan nodded. Quickly, Meng Lei came to find him and left with great enthusiasm. Tang Yuan did not send him out because there was a reward waiting for him to choose in front of him. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Second Artifact. Dream Privilege. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Second Artifact. Dream Privilege. You have completed the task, Taolong Campus, Low, and received a task reward of +1 Spirit Dream Factor. Please choose one of the following 5 cards to flip. The rewards for dream tasks are very simple. A few spiritual dream factors and an unknown flip reward. The spiritual dream factor is only used for players to upgrade, and there are currently very few ways to obtain it. At this 1 o'clock, when Tang Yuan looked at his personal panel again, the waiting order column had already changed to equal order. 101/100, the spiritual dream factor is 101. If it weren't for my innate spiritual factor of 100, it wouldn't have been easy to reach the upgrade condition. Tang Yuan shook his head and sighed lightly, alas, it's so difficult to upgrade. No wonder 4 years and 5 levels are enough to make a name for oneself. Closing the panel, he turned his gaze to the 5 cards floating in the void in front of him. These 5 cards have their backs facing him, with the front representing random rewards and the back featuring the same beautiful crescent moon and starry night scenery. It's still my first time flipping, which card should I choose? Tang Yuan habitually rubbed his hands and moved his gaze back and forth on these 5 cards. According to forum players, the rewards represented by cards range greatly, from common consumables to high-star spiritual weapons, all of which can be obtained. And generally speaking, the higher the difficulty of the task, the better the overall quality of the 5 cards will be. If only I could see these cards. While speaking, Tang Yuan chose the middle card and wanted to flip it over. However, as soon as he finished speaking, his fingers, which were about to touch the card, suddenly froze with an inexplicable exhaustion of energy in his body. Amidst his confusion as to why his stamina was inexplicably depleted, the 5 cards in front of him flipped over at a slow and steady pace, revealing their faces to him. Ah! Is this flipped over? Why? Tang Yuan was not stupid. In just an instant, he had a guess. I just said I wanted to see a card, but my stamina burned out and the card turned around. Is it possible that I have the ability to flip cards over? But why is this? In confusion, the bracelet turned into white light and flew out, condensing Tang Yuan's figure beside him. The card really flipped over. Her azure eyes swiftly swept over the 5 cards, and a growing surprise filled her eyes. Is it difficult or not at this moment? In front of the two, the contents displayed on the 5 cards are Junior Stamina Pill, 1 star, ×1, Dream Coin, ×1, Quiet Bead Fragment, ×1, Ruby Fragment, ×1, Quiet Bead Fragment, ×2. Leaving aside the reason for flipping the card, Tang Yuan hesitated for a moment and decided to select the card reward first. After simply scanning through the 5 rewards, he quickly selected the 5th card. Although the Jingxin Pearl is not very useful, at least it is also a 1-star spiritual weapon. If it were 2 fragments, it would be worth at least 5 dream coins. If you can get another fragment, you can directly synthesize and sell the meditation beads. You have obtained Silent Pearl Fragments, X2. 2 small stones emitting emerald light fell from the sky and slowly reached Tang Yuan's palm. These are the fragments of these 2 meditation beads. Tang Yuan nodded slightly and was about to put these 2 small stones away, but the 4 cards before meeting did not disappear. After flipping, shouldn't the other cards disappear? Why are they still there now? Looking at the 4 cards still floating in front of him, he furrowed his brow as if feeling something. Can I choose again if it's difficult? He tried clicking on the 3rd card. You have obtained Meditation Ball Fragments, X1. When another emerald green stone falls from the void, the remaining cards disappear at this moment. Oh my goodness. It's really like this. Why on earth is it? The rewards for the task have been fully distributed. The doubts that could be left for Tang Yuan still lingered above his head, causing him to furrow his brows and fall into contemplation. On the side, Tang Yuan lowered her head and pursed her lips, pondering for a long time. After all, she sighed and looked up at the young man in front of her, saying in a voice, "Aren't you wondering why I chose you and thought you were my master? I originally wanted to wait until I got to know you better in the future, but who knew your abilities were so exaggerated? So what exactly is this?" Tang Yuan immediately looked at her. Because a divine artifact has fused into your soul. Divine artifact. Tang Yuan was surprised and didn't expect that his abnormalities would be related to the divine artifact. Yes, it is the last artifact of the unfinished dream. The ability of the artifact blends with you before it appears, so the ability of this last artifact will be influenced by your thoughts in your mind, and it is mostly what you subconsciously desire. Tang Yuan wrapped himself in a white dress and walked slowly to the bedside, then turned around and sat down. She looked up at Tang Yuan, her blue eyes filled with memories. So, in order to observe your abilities and not let you go astray, I will stay by your side. Is it just this reason? Of course, there is also curiosity. Tang Yuan propped his hands on the edge of the bed, lifted his snow-white and bright smile, and silently smiled at him, saying, "Although our artifact can transform into a human, it is not human in nature and cannot become a player. But you can. So, I'm very curious about your future." Upon hearing this, Tang Yuan gained a general understanding. After pacing back and forth in the room for a moment, he began to wonder again. No, according to what you said, if there is a divine artifact integrated into my body, what are the attributes of the artifact? Except for you, there are a total of 7 artifacts in the world, and the other 6 have no attribute blessings, only I have them. Why? Because the other 6 items are all combat artifacts, only my ability is an auxiliary ability unrelated to combat, and attribute enhancement is completely an additional compensation. So this should also be my auxiliary ability. That's because your abilities are too exaggerated, there's no need to compensate. Upon hearing this, Tang Yuan looked strange and said, "Just looking at cards and choosing one more card is even more useless than you. There should be other abilities you haven't discovered." Tang Yuan stared at Tang Yuan and pondered. Flipping and multiple choices are both aimed at illusions. If there are other abilities, then they should also be similar. So, in other aspects of the illusion, I may also use my artifact abilities. Isn't that equivalent to having privileges in the illusion? Tang Yuan understands. Upon seeing this, Tang Yuan suddenly realized, yes. After becoming a player, you subconsciously yearn for this, that's why the artifact ability is like this. Whether it's a fantasy privilege or not, you can test it after upgrading. Tang Yuan nodded and a cautious expression appeared on his eyebrows. But before that, I have another question. Who else knows about this besides you? Of course, I'm the only one. Okay. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Upgraded Challenge. Legendary. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Upgraded Challenge. Legendary. In order to test his true artifact ability, Tang Yuan couldn't wait to be promoted. Almost all functions of fantasy require players to reach a certain level before they can be opened. The first level only has mission and forum functions, while the second level will open stores and synthesis functions. Is the artifact ability exactly what we guessed? Just upgrade to the second level and it will be clear. For this reason, Tang Yuan planned to advance the upgrade challenge that was originally scheduled to be held in the evening. He opened the personal panel, and after the level column, there was also a upgrade button. Click once and a prompt will immediately appear in front of you. Tip. Do you want to start the upgrade challenge now? Okay. As soon as the words were spoken, the prompt information in front of me disappeared and was replaced by the choice of difficulty. Please choose one of the following challenge difficulty levels. Ordinary difficulties Epic Legend, Hidden, Looking at the fourth difficulty called Legend, Tang Yuan was both surprised and delighted. The challenge difficulty has always been only 3, and now I have an additional Legend difficulty on my end. If I pass, the improvement will not be even greater. Players can choose one of the difficulty challenges to advance to. After a successful challenge, you will move on to the next level and can choose to improve your attributes in a certain direction. The greater the difficulty, the higher the attributes that can be improved. You have one more difficulty here, but you also need enough strength. Without strength, what if you have a higher difficulty? That's what he said, but surprise appeared in Tang Yuan's bright blue eyes. Originally, relying solely on Tang Yuan, even if there was a higher difficulty than epic poetry, it was highly likely due to a lack of motivation and could only be done and watched. However, coincidentally, she also recognized him as the master. In this way, with her help, he actually had the strength to pass those challenges. I didn't expect that by chance, you would have picked up such a big bargain. As if imagining such a developing future, Tang Yuan took a deep breath and then sighed, your future is immeasurable. Give me good cheer. I'm really looking forward to it now. Tang Yuan nodded heavily and decisively chose the highest difficulty. It seems like only one breath has passed. When he opened his eyes again, he was already on a vast and boundless grassland. The sky is high and the clouds are light, and the wind blows through the green fields. The sun hung high in the distant sky. Looking ahead, one could only see 3 rows of neatly arranged military tents, each with 4 in each row, totaling 12. Outside each military tent, there are naked and robust barbarian soldiers guarding the 4 directions. Challenge requirement. Defeat the barbarian army, challenge time limit. 1 hour, challenge begins. The 3 lines of blue background and white text in front of me appeared one after another, and then disappeared 3 seconds later. When they were completely gone, Tang Yuan adjusted his state and remained calm. After just 1 breath, he opened his eyes again, his eyes shining brightly. As if he had adjusted all aspects of his body to its peak state in just 1 breath. Chasing the light with just 1 thought. He whispered a sentence, and his figure suddenly turned into white light and flew away. A distance of 1 kilometer flashed by. When Tang Yuan landed, the barbarian soldiers around him immediately shouted when they saw him. "There are invaders! There are invaders! Hurry up and report to the king. Someone and I will go first." Not far away, a small soldier blew his horn, and the sound of the horn sounded as if it had reached 9 heavens. Several barbarians around picked up their iron axes at hand and charged towards him with great strides. Tang Yuan quickly glanced around and immediately gathered his diamond true power between his fists. With a bend in his knees, his body rushed forward like a spring. Su bang! The fist with the power of diamond attached was incredibly hard, combined with his terrifying physique blessed by divine weapons. With just one punch, a 2-meter-tall barbarian soldier was knocked out hundreds of meters by him. All the soldiers along the way were knocked to the ground, life or death unknown. Wow! The nearby barbarians all widened their eyes and exclaimed in surprise upon seeing this. However, surprise was their surprise. Their attack did not weaken much, and the next moment they charged towards him with a fierce expression. Tang Yuan doesn't know any physical skills. With his far superior strength and agility, he effortlessly charged left and right in the midst of the barbarians, as if entering an uninhabited territory. Bang! The 2 barbarian soldiers lifted a 2-meter iron shield together, only to be crushed by his kick. The astonishing force overturned the 2, causing them to vomit blood and fly out. Fall to the ground and turn into black ash to dissipate. Axe Chain Team, get ready. Among the soldiers, there was a group of barbarian soldiers carrying long chain iron axes. After one of the barbarian generals issued an order, they coincidentally untied the axe buckles behind them and untied the axe chains. These double-edged axes are all tied to a long iron chain, and as long as you wave the iron chain in your hand, you can control the double-edged axe to carry out large-scale attacks. Attack! At the command of the barbarian general, dozens of double-edged axes roared and rushed towards Tang Yuan. If it were an ordinary first-level player, they would probably die under this wave of attacks. However, Tang Yuan only stepped lightly and his figure disappeared like a ghost in place. When he reappeared, he had already arrived at the side of the axe chain team, with a large iron axe just picked up from the ground in his hand. "Unfortunately, I don't have any attack moves, otherwise I would have killed your team with just one axe." As he spoke, the axe chain soldier also noticed him and quickly manipulated the iron chain in his hand, intending to retract the double-edged axe. Tang Yuan did not give them this opportunity, he just waved his axe and easily killed the team like chopping melons and vegetables. Until now, a fierce roar resembling a fierce beast could be heard not far away. Roar! Tang Yuan turned his head and saw a barbarian man about 3 meters tall and much stronger than other soldiers strode out of the largest tent in the middle. He was accompanied by a large black dog with blood-mouthed fangs and spiky fur, which looked extremely fierce. That roar was made by that guy. Amidst Tang Yuan's curiosity, the soldiers around him stopped besieging and worshipped the barbarian, shouting loudly, "Barbarian King! Unparalleled! Barbarian King! Unparalleled! Barbarian King!" Any player can tell from this battle, this is the boss coming. Tang Yuan is no exception. With the idea of capturing the thief first, capturing the king, he kicked off the iron axe in his hand, leaving only half of the blade. Grasping this axe blade, the true power of diamond surged in my hand, and in no time, I dyed the axe blade golden yellow, coating it with an invincible layer of strength. Go ahead. Looking at the barbarian king who was pounding his chest and roaring in battle, Tang Yuan threw out a half-golden axe blade in his hand with force. Like a golden beam of light flashing away. The barbarian king didn't even react, and the beam of golden light pierced through his body, continuing to charge towards the distance at an almost unstoppable speed. The call of the surrounding barbarians suddenly came to an end, and the world seemed to have come to a standstill in this moment. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Current Dream Privilege List. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Current Dream Privilege List. As Tang Yuan's eyes opened and closed, he returned to his small bedroom. I'm back. Is this the end? Are there still so many barbarians who haven't been killed? Just now, the challenge space came to a standstill for a moment, and he thought the barbarians were scared and stunned. Now it seems that means challenging for success. The challenge requires me to defeat the barbarian army. Although I have killed the barbarian king and many soldiers, leaving only a little miscellaneous fish, there is still some left. Is that okay? Although he is not very clear about the basis for determining the success of the challenge, even if he is asked to stay a little longer, he can easily solve the remaining miscellaneous fish. Therefore, he gained peace of mind from this success. Successfully challenged, congratulations on reaching the second level. Please choose your preferred direction. 1. Do Gang, 2. Adhering to the outline, 3. Zhu Gang, 3. Please choose one of the following rewards to obtain. 1. Physical fitness plus 20, 100%, 2. Spiritual power plus 20, 100%, the normal reward for reaching second level is only 10 points, the difficulty level is 12 points, and the epic level is 15 points, while this legendary level that no one has ever seen before is 20 points. Although it is only a few points higher than other levels of difficulty, this is only a second level promotion. The attribute rewards for each level of advancement will become higher and higher, and by then, the gap between various levels of difficulty will become larger and larger. And this is a legendary difficulty that doubles the reward attribute, Hiss. Tang Yuan took a cold breath and patted his chest to slightly calm his excitement. This means that as long as he has enough strength, he can gain more attributes than others every time he advances in the future. The two major supports interact with each other, the stronger the stronger. Thinking of privilege, he rolled his eyes and tentatively said to the two options in front of him, you can only choose one. It would be best if you could choose both. After speaking, he was the first to choose the second option he needed more. Spiritual power plus 20, at the moment when such a message appeared, the first option in front of me turned into a phantom and dissipated completely. Unfortunately, he can only choose one. At this point, Tang Yuan can finally calm down and carefully analyze the unknown artifact's ability. Now I want to choose multiple options, but still can only choose one. During the challenge, I didn't expect a higher difficulty challenge, but it appeared on its own. So, in that case, my artifact ability should not be constantly changing with my mind, but rather fixed even earlier. Tang Yuan is not sure when the artifact ability was fixed, and what it was fixed into. In short, it even exists in leveling challenges that he has not experienced before, so it is not surprising what other abilities it has. He plans to record the functions that have already appeared before. There are private notes for each player on the forum, where the recording is the most secure. Speaking, he summoned the forum and opened his personal note. This is a virtual interface with a bright blue background, with horizontal lines in the interface. Tang Yuan summoned a virtual keyboard and typed on it, 1. When flipping a task, you can watch the cards and also choose one more card, 2. Legendary difficulty appears in the upgrade challenge. After clicking Save, a naming box popped up for this note, and he named it Dream Privilege List. Alright, next. Second level players have enabled store and item synthesis functions. Now he plans to experiment with the store's functions first. With a burst of beautiful and dreamy colorful light flashing by, the luxurious store interface with a beautiful and dreamy 7-color background was displayed in front of him. Dream Store, Consumables, Current, Spirit Curse Imperial Emblem Spirit Tools Treasure Accessories Treasure Medicine Other Restricted Purchase Area Primary Strength Pill, 1 star. 1 Dream Coin Primary Blood Chi Pill, 1 star. 1 Dream Coin Primary Revival Pill, 1 star. 1 Dream Coin Spirit Dream Factor X 10.100 Dream Coins, limited to 1/week, store, end, huh? Sure enough. Tang Yuan turned his gaze to the last category and said happily, in addition to the original 7 categories, my store has also added a restricted purchase area that I have never heard of before. This must be a new feature. He quickly clicked on this category. Restricted purchase area, primary stamina pill, 1 star. 0 dream coins, limited to 12, 1 dozen, primary blood chi pill, 1 star. 0 dream coins, limited to 12, 1 blood return to heaven, guardian, lower level. 10 dream coins, limited to 1, restricted purchase area, end. There are currently only 3 items in this area. Tang Yuan briefly scanned and bought all the first 2 types of pills. Finally, he clicked on the details of this 3rd item. 1 blood returns to heaven, guardian, lower level. Immediately restores a large amount of vitality and heals minor injuries throughout the body within 5 seconds. This spirit curse is quite famous, although it is only a lower-level spirit curse, learning it will greatly improve one's survival ability. That's right, but for Tang Yuan, who has an unconventional physique, this spiritual curse is of no use. Importantly, among the normal categories of spiritual spells, the price of this spiritual spell can reach up to 100. In the restricted purchase area, you only need 10 dream coins, which is completely a discount. 1 discount. Although Tang Yuan is not sure what other products will appear another day, this extremely low discount level undoubtedly inspires his soul. Just no matter how low the discount is, you can't afford it without money. When closing the store interface, Tang Yuan gave a bitter smile and said, it seems we still need to earn dream coins, otherwise we won't be able to buy any good things that come out someday. Shaking his head, he didn't immediately jot down the news of the restricted purchase area, but instead called out softly, turn on the synthesis function. As the words fell, the interface for synthesizing hallucinations unfolded before his eyes. The interface is as fiery red as an alchemy furnace, with only an orange "Put" button in the center. After clicking, a small flame vortex appeared in front of him. As long as he threw the items he needed to synthesize into this vortex. Tang Yuan happened to have 3 fragments of meditation beads on his body, so he decided to throw them all together. Next second. Synthesis successful. A bead emitting a soft emerald light slowly flew out of the vortex of flames and landed quietly in Tang Yuan's palm. The latter let out a light sigh and activated the player's built-in exploration technique to check. Meditation ball, 1 star. Holding it in your hand can expel distractions, calm your mind, and slowly restore your spirit. When the vortex in front of him disappeared, Tang Yuan reluctantly admitted that the 3 fragments of the meditation beads could only be combined into one, and there was nothing else. So it seems that there hasn't been any change in the synthesis function. No. Tang Zhen, who was watching his actions on the side at some point, retorted, didn't you notice that you didn't even need to spend money when you just synthesized? Your synthesis is free. And a very important point in synthesis is the success rate. Depending on the situation, your success rate may be very high. Tang Yuan once saw many people on the forums saying that in order to synthesize things like losing everything. Although it was a joking remark from players, it also indirectly reflects that the synthesis function is indeed very expensive. Free synthesis, to some extent, is also a boost. Just measure the success rate and you'll know. Just now, he bought a dozen basic stamina pills and a dozen basic blood gas pills from the restricted purchase area. One of these 2 pills can be used to synthesize the 2-star pill Xiaohuan. According to player experiments, the success rate is about 90%. Tang Yuan threw them in pairs into the synthesis, and all 12 attempts were successful. 3 small pills can also be used to synthesize a 3-star pill called De Huan Dan, with a success rate of 60%. I will combine them into one. Synthesis successful. For consecutive synthesis attempts, all successful. There is a chance that the 4 great revival pills can synthesize the strongest healing elixir, holy healing, with a success rate of only 1%. If they also succeed this time, then it must be. He threw 4 big return pills into the synthesis. The next moment, synthesis successful, you have obtained a 5-star treasure medicine, holy healing, indeed. Tang Yuan looked excited and quickly opened his personal note, taking notes on it. 3. There are multiple restricted purchase areas in the store. 4. Synthesis is free and guaranteed to succeed. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Taolong River Barbecue Stall. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Taolong River Barbecue Stall. Call out. Closing the personal note, Tang Yuan breathed a long sigh of relief. There were too many things happening in an afternoon, so he came to the living room and lay on the sofa, rubbing his temples and slowly closing his eyes. Let's talk about tomorrow's matter tomorrow. Surprise! A mysterious monster has appeared at Taolong University. Superpowers frequently appear around the world. What is the origin of the group called Players? Extreme intelligence. The way to become a player. It's around 7 o'clock at night. The flourishing and bright lights connected the two banks of the Taolong River, casting a beautiful reflection on the clear Taolong River. As if the river was adorned with fiery red lanterns. On a brightly lit small boat in the river, LVCC was busy with his family's barbecue stall. 20 more lamb skewers at table 7, a guest who was scrolling through mobile news turned around and shouted. Okay. LUCC readily responded, casually wiping off the fine sweat on his forehead, turned around and took out a skewer of lamb from the refrigerator, then turned back to the grill. At this moment, 2 young people, a man and a woman, stood abruptly in front of the frame. Where did these 2 people come from when the ship didn't dock? Could it be from another ship? There are hundreds of merchant ships, big and small, operating here on the Taolong River. Some of them run restaurants, some hotels, some shops, and even hair salons and bath shops. Of course, there are also simple barbecue stalls like the Lucy family. These ships will set up signs on the shore, showing their working hours, when they will dock, and the charging situation. Tourists who want to board the ship for consumption only need to arrive at the corresponding location at a specific time. A tourist once wrote a poem. 100 merchants in the river fill the river with people at night. Peach blossoms float in the clear water, and the lights shine brightly in the sky. It describes the charming night on the banks of the Taolong River. Hello, what do you want? Lu Cece asked politely, feeling surprised. 5 chicken legs. The young man on the left lifted the crimson duckbill cap above his head, revealing his beautiful and handsome face. He smiled at LVCC, and the 2 clean dimples were quite noticeable. I don't need this person around me, just give me some, he added intentionally. LUCC didn't quite understand whether this was a joke or a serious one, and turned her head to look at the woman on the right. But she was frowning slightly, scanning herself up and down. How are you? She didn't know what the person across from her was doing. Oh. The woman on the right seemed to have regained her senses at this moment, and after staring at her in silence for a few seconds, she said, No need, I won't eat. Just make it for him. I just want to chat with you here. Okay. LUCC's hands were still flexibly flipping the bamboo sticks in their hands, and upon hearing these words, her expression froze. She looked up with a puzzled expression and looked at the woman carefully, wondering, do we know each other? Oh no, she's not very talkative and you don't know each other. Oh no, maybe you don't know each other, the man in the duckbill cap quickly explained. The man let out a heavy sigh as he saw a warning on LVCC's face. He skillfully took out a small golden notebook from his pocket, opened it and showed it to the opponent. We are the Red Maple Squad of the White Dragon Group, and the fighters are Li Ruosi and Li Ming. The incident that occurred at Taolong University today, we would like to ask you about some information. LUCC paused her hand and thought to herself, finally here we are. After today's incident, rumors about her dream had already spread among teachers and students, and she had long guessed that relevant people would come knocking on her door. Okay, come with me. Quickly, the three of them arrived at the small meeting room on the ship. This place is only 5 or 6 square meters in size, and 3 people sit around a small rectangular brown wooden table. After sitting down, Li Ruosi got straight to the point and said, "Miss LV, we know about your dream. What we're here to ask is not the connection between your dream and reality. But I just want to know the complete experience of your dream." Complete experience. Well, you just need to tell us the content of your dream, Li Ming added. From morning till now, I have forgotten a lot. Remember to say whatever you want. Sure. Li Ming said this, then took out the recording pen to record, opened the notebook and opened the pen cover, with a look of, "You say I record." Okay, I still remember. 2 minutes later. When LVCC finished talking about the entire dream, Li Ruosi immediately handed him a cup of warm water. Li Ming put on the pen cap, looked at a record in his notebook, and asked, "You said you dreamt of a tall and thin person casting a spell that invisibly killed others. Do you remember any characteristics of this tall and thin person?" As soon as these words were spoken, LVCC finally understood the meaning behind both. She closed her eyes and tried to recall. A few seconds later, with her eyes tightly closed, she hesitated and said, "It's about 2 meters tall. He's a man with a dark face, some scars or tattoos. By the way, after he cast his spell, what else did he say about the evil spirit group?" Evil spirit group. Li Ming and the others exchanged a glance, while the former quickly jotted down this important information. All right. Closing the notebook, Li Ming handed the other person a postcard and smiled gently, "If you still remember anything, please feel free to contact us at any time." Seeing that there was no further information to be found, Li and the others had to get up and leave. Seeing this, LVCC felt a little anxious and gritted her teeth to express her doubts. "I'm sorry, I want to ask." "That's it." The two of them paused and looked up at her. "What happened today has nothing to do with my dreams, right?" Although there are many rumors on the internet, LVCC has never been able to find the most authoritative explanation. She is not sure what is going on with all of this. If the event that happened today is really related to her, she will feel guilty for a lifetime. Upon hearing this, Li Ruosi, who was not good at talking, first reacted and comforted with a smile, "Don't worry, the reason why such an event happened is not related to who was dreaming, but to the tall and thin man in your dream. He attacked others, causing the mission to fail and bringing monsters to life. He is the culprit." Pupu Tong. The lingering heart finally landed, and the girl in front of her breathed a sigh of relief. Her body softened in an instant, and she was about to fall. Shua. Li Ruosi quickly arrived at the other person's side and helped her to stay. "I'm at ease, it's nothing to do with me," Lucc smiled, although her face was a bit pale, her clear eyes that led to her soul were incredibly bright. In no time, the three of them walked out of the small boat hall together. Li Ming packed 5 big chicken legs, bid farewell to Lu Cece, and followed the small boat rented by Li Ruosi temporarily. "Where are we going next?" he asked as usual. Li Ruosi turned her gaze to a residential building by the riverbank in the distance and said in a deep voice, "The place where that young strong man lives now." End of this chapter.